Kale drifted through the marketplace with the sluggish pace of a man who had nowhere left to be. Neon banners flickered overhead, advertising fruits from other stars, spices that clung to the air like memories. Around him, Selkari Prime pulsed with color and motion, but Kale walked as if moving through fog. He passed a vendor shouting about fire pears, a creature with too many eyes selling cloth made of living silk, and then a disturbance caught his attention. Voices cruel and loud. "Get away, Shadowblood, your kind's not welcome here." Between the crates of dried Kellan fruit and glimmerroot sat a girl. Her skin was a rich violet, her silver horns curved elegantly back from her brow. She was small, thin, dirty, and trying to hide behind her own knees. The vendor stood above her, his thick green arms raised as if to strike. Kale didn't think. His body moved before his mind caught up. He stepped forward. "Leave her alone. She's not hurting anyone." The vendor snorted. "You don't know what she is." "I don't care." There was a long pause, murmurs, people watching now. Kale crouched beside her. "Come on," he said softly. "You shouldn't be here alone." She stared at him with bright green eyes wide with suspicion. "I'm not going to hurt you, promise." "Why?" she whispered. "Why would you help me?" Kale looked past her, at the crowd already turning away again, at the vendor muttering and disappearing into his stall. "Because no one else will." She didn't take his hand, but she followed. "Let me know when you're ready for the rest of part 1, full 3,500 words, and I'll continue immediately." Cold wind swirled around the outer edge of the quarter as Kale led Celia away from the market. She followed in silence, her bare feet careful on the cracked stone path. Behind them, the murmurs of disdain faded like a storm passing. Ahead, the glow of Kale's home flickered through fog and ivy. His studio was tucked behind a crumbling wall of sun-bleached marble, remnants of a palace long lost to war and weeds. Glass panels arched overhead in mismatched patterns, giving the place a greenhouse look. The doorway creaked as he pushed it open. "It's not much," he said quietly, "but you're safe here." Celia hesitated before entering. She scanned the room, shelves stacked with pigments and brushes, cloths soaked in color, half-finished canvases that breathed sorrow and fire. "Did you paint these?" she asked, almost too softly to hear. Kale nodded. "They feel like dreams or memories." He gave a small smile. "Sometimes they're both." She drifted toward a painting on the far wall, an abstract wave of reds and silver swirling around a broken shape in the center. Her fingers hovered near it but didn't touch. Kale moved toward the kitchen space, such as it was, a chipped basin, a gravity kettle, a shelf of instant grains and jars filled with dried spice seeds. He prepared a bowl of warmthroot stew, watching her from the corner of his eye. She sat on a cushion near the glass wall, bathed in moonlight and shadow, her posture tense, as if expecting this sanctuary to collapse. "Why did they hate you so much?" he asked. Celia blinked slowly. "Because I exist." Kale didn't press. Instead, he handed her the bowl. She sniffed it, then took a cautious sip. Her shoulders relaxed just slightly. "I've seen outcasts before," he said, watching her. "You're different, there's something more." "And what if that something is dangerous?" "Then I'll be careful, but not cruel." They shared a silence after that, deep and restful. In the days that followed, she remained in the studio. Kale offered no rules, only quiet support. Sometimes they talked. Mostly they painted. She helped him fix a shattered mural in the center atrium, brushing pale golden strokes into the edges of what once looked like fire. "What is this one called?" she asked. "Remembrance, my sister. She vanished near the rings of Iris 6, no message, no trace." "I'm sorry. I think painting her is how I keep her from disappearing completely." Celia nodded. One evening, a knock startled them both. Kale opened the door to reveal a tall man with sun-creased skin and a blade on his back. His name was Jarrow, an old friend from Kale's scavenging days. "You have her here, the horned girl." "She has a name." "Kale, you don't know what they say about her. She was part of a blood rite, something old, something that cursed half her clan. They say the stars themselves turned away." Kale's jaw tightened. "I don't believe rumors." "You should." Jarrow left soon after, eyes lingering with pity and warning. That night, Celia didn't sleep. Kale found her curled in the corner of the greenhouse, eyes wide with fear. They were right, she said quietly, about part of it. Tell me. I can't, not yet, but it's inside me still. Not what they think, not a curse, a key to something older than our people. She trembled. Cale sat beside her, his arm barely brushing hers. The proximity calmed her. I won't ask you to explain, he said, but if you ever do, I'll listen. She rested her head lightly on his shoulder. Outside, rain began to fall through the broken glass above. Inside, the silence between them shifted, not empty now, but full of something beginning. The stars above Selkari Prime shifted slowly as the moonlight washed over the ancient rooftops. Inside the greenhouse studio, Celia woke from another restless sleep. Her breath trembled in her chest, her hands clutching the fabric of the woven blanket Cale had left for her. She looked down, the same old dream, the temple of her ancestors, filled with screams and light. The sigil on her collarbone burned faintly, glowing with the throb of something ancient, something watching. When she emerged into the studio, Cale was already painting. Couldn't sleep either, he asked without looking. No. He paused, brush in hand. You ever think about leaving Selkari, starting fresh somewhere else? No planet would take me, not officially. What about unofficially? I know places, outposts near the drifting belt, stations no one regulates. You'd come with me. Cale set the brush down. I haven't had a reason to go anywhere in years, until now. She said nothing, but her eyes softened. That afternoon, the streets were louder than usual. A tribunal ship had arrived, one of the old enforcement vessels, marked by its three-pronged lights and heavy crimson plating. Cale frowned as they passed the outer plaza and saw armed figures in silver-black cloaks. What are they doing here? Celia stiffened beside him. If they find me, they'll end it, quietly. Cale pulled her into a narrow alley. We go now, get your things, we hide until they leave. But it was already too late. Voices rang out behind them. One of the tribunal scouts spotted her horns. You there, stop. Cale grabbed her hand and ran. They ducked through a broken gateway and into the underground aqueduct tunnels, a labyrinth of rusted pipes, flowing water, and forgotten passageways. Their footsteps echoed through the damp corridors as lights from above flickered in and out. This way, Cale said, remembering the old scavenger maps. There's a route under the merchant towers. We can lose them. But Celia slowed, panting. Her hand brushed the tunnel wall. The temple was hidden beneath an ancient slope of the sunken quarter, its entrance cloaked by time and collapsed stone. Cale had heard whispers of it during his early scavenging years, a place once revered by Celia's ancestors before politics turned to fear. Celia knelt at the broken threshold, her fingers trailing along weather-worn glyphs. This is where the visions first came to me, she whispered. And this is where we'll find the truth, Cale said. Inside, the walls breathed with memory. Glowing lines ran like veins across obsidian panels, flickering gently as they walked. They moved deeper into the dark, past statues worn to suggestion, mosaics fractured into starlit pieces. In the center chamber lay the relic, still nestled in its stone cradle, pulsing with a quiet rhythm that matched Celia's mark. As she approached, the glow from her collarbone intensified. The relic responded, light rising in waves that danced over their faces. They feared this, Cale asked, awestruck. They feared the power to change, to heal, to remember what they had lost. Images swirled in the air, not of destruction, but rebirth. Barren landscapes blooming, poisoned rivers cleared, wounded beings mended with light. Celia cried without realizing. Cale stepped close, touching her shoulder. This is your legacy, not shame, hope. Then why did they exile me? Because hope threatens those who built their rule on fear. They stayed there for hours, exploring memory-encoded tapestries, learning the truth buried under centuries of silence. Back in the city, fear had grown. Jarrow had returned to the tribunal, stirring panic with tales of Celia's mark, her supposed danger. Manipulated by leaders eager to control the narrative, a mob had formed. Word came through an old contact. Cale's studio had been ransacked. We have to leave, he said. They'll burn everything to erase the truth. Then we can't run, Celia replied. We have to reveal it, the relic's gift, publicly. It was madness, but it was the only way. They emerged from the temple just as the sun dipped low, casting the slums in molten orange. A crowd had already gathered in the old plaza, drawn by fear and manipulated tailies. Kale and Celia stepped forward, hand in hand. "She's cursed," someone shouted. "She's a threat." Kale lifted his voice. "You were lied to. The relic isn't a weapon, it's salvation." Celia stepped forward. Her mark blazed like a star. "Look." She placed her hand on a shattered fountain, one that had spewed toxins for a decade. The relic's energy flowed through her into the stone. Light poured outward, chasing rot and decay. Vines burst from cracks. Water flowed pure. Silence stunned, then murmurs. Some dropped their weapons, others fled. But not all. A stone was thrown, striking Kale's arm. Another was aimed at Celia, but Kale shielded her. "Go," he told her. "Run to the temple, I'll draw them." "No," she said, clutching him. "We stay or fall together." They stood their ground as the relic pulsed again, releasing another wave of healing light. When the smoke cleared, many had fallen to their knees, not in fear but in awe. That night among the temple's flickering crystals, Celia and Kale sat close, their fingers intertwined. "We showed them," Kale murmured. "We're not done," Celia said, "but we're no longer alone." She leaned into him, their foreheads touching. The night passed without fear. The morning after the healing light swept through the plaza, the air on Selkari Prime felt different, crisper, lighter. The fountain ran clear for the first time in decades. People gathered in silence, whispering about what they had seen. But the tribunal was not done. Armored skiffs descended from the clouds. Officials in mirrored masks marched into the slums, demanding custody of Celia and destruction of the relic. The crowd trembled under old habits of fear. Kale and Celia met them at the center of the plaza. "She is not property," Kale said. "She is evidence," the lead officer replied. "The relic is an unregistered artifact of forbidden origin. It must be surrendered." "You saw what it did," Celia said. "It can heal this world. It already has." "Irrelevant. It violates the preservation accords." Murmurs from the crowd grew louder. "Then your accords are built on rot," someone shouted. Another voice, "We saw her save our children from the poisoned wind." Pressure mounted. Celia stepped forward, lifting the relic from her pouch. Its light pulsed gently. "You will not cage this again? I won't allow it." As the officer raised a weapon, Kale moved to shield her. But Celia raised her hand, light spilling from her fingers, not in violence, but in truth. Visions burst forth, projected into the air. Her exile, the relic's awakening, the ancient temple's truth. The entire plaza saw it. Gasps echoed through the crowd. Some tribunal soldiers lowered their weapons. "We've been lied to," a young guard muttered. "This isn't justice," said another. Chaos erupted, not as violence, but a rising of voice and will. The tribunal forces withdrew under pressure, shields raised, but without firing a shot. The crowd had chosen. The outcast was now their healer. In the weeks that followed, everything changed. The temple became a sanctuary where Celia taught those willing to learn how the relic worked. Not as a weapon, but a bond to the world's life force. Kale returned to painting, but now his canvases bloomed with new symbols, sigils of unity, transformation, peace. One afternoon, Celia found him painting the old fountain. "You always use red and gold now," she said with a smile. "They remind me of the first time I saw your light." She took his hand and placed it over her heart. The mark there pulsed gently, no longer hidden. "You helped me believe in myself again. You stayed. And you gave me a reason to live again." They stood in the plaza where they had once been surrounded by hate. Now it was covered in murals, flowers, and laughter. Celia leaned into him, her voice low. "What do you see when you look at me now?" "A girl who changed the world and chose to hold my hand through it." As the sun set over Selkari Prime, their fingers intertwined. From outcast and exile, from ruin and silence, had come something new. Not just healing, not just peace, but love.